Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with the American Firearms Association. So proud today to have Missouri Congressman and gun rights champion Eric Burlison for an interview today. Thank you for your time so much, Congressman. I appreciate it.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So, Congressman, you were a champion for gun rights in the Missouri House, Missouri Senate. You've now taken that fight for gun rights freedom to Washington, D.C., and there is a lot at stake right now, and right in real time in the fight for gun rights. I want to ask you for your thoughts on a couple of things that are happening, right now in Congress and in the White House. As you know, currently, Joe Biden has signed an order which will make felons out of tens of millions of Americans at the end of May if they own an unregistered pistol brace. This was never voted on in Congress. There was never a committee hearing on this. Biden simply grabs his pen, signs an executive order, and by magic, by fiat, we're facing felony charges by the end of May. What are your thoughts on that process and how he's trying to circumvent the Congress to make this happen?
Well, my thoughts are, even if Congress was trying to do it, even if it was going through a process where we were passing a bill, it's, in my opinion, still unconstitutional. To me, the Second Amendment is pretty clear when it says that these rights shall not be infringed, period. But that being said, even if it was passed that way, I think it's unconstitutional. But Joe Biden is trying to use a bill that had been previously passed decades ago, the National Firearms Act, and its rulemaking authority as a camel's nose under the tent method of changing federal law. And to your point, yeah, this is awful, especially if you're one of the millions of Americans that have a pistol brace. To me, that's just absurd that we would make something illegal and make people a felon for something that they've already purchased and paid taxes on. And so I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think some people maybe be hung up on the issue of, well, I don't own a pistol brace, so I don't care about this. I'm sure you would agree the issue is not a pistol brace or a bump stock or an 80% lower. The issue is that we have a president now who is bypassing the Congress and making decisions unilaterally to make felons out of countless law-abiding gun owners here in America. Again, bypassing the Congress. I guess the real question is, if he can do it to this accessory or that accessory, where does this end?
Yeah, and to your point, this is also making it a felony for someone who is handicapped. Because the whole purpose of pistol braces is to help an individual who cannot shoulder a firearm, who maybe they don't have the use of their other hand. And so the idea is that they're able to stabilize that, and it makes them a more accurate shooter. It makes them to where they're not hitting things that you're not supposed to hit, right? That's training 101, whether you're training to be a good hunter, or if you're being trained for active shooter events, if you're being trained to provide security or policing, your training is all about making sure that you're on target and that you look downfield and make sure there's nothing else that you might hit. That's why this kind of logic, the Joe Biden logic of taking away this from citizens, is not about keeping people safe. It's just about making people criminals who are normally law-abiding citizens.
Exactly. Congressman, when you were in the Senate in Missouri, you led the fight to pass the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And what that law does is it prevents Missouri cops from having to enforce federal law. It still allows federal officers to enforce federal laws in the state. In that context, what are your thoughts on Joe Biden's push and the Congress's push in general to increase the size of the ATF? We've seen numerous bills filed last Congress. We've seen Biden call for new budget approvals to hire hundreds of new federal officers. A lot of gun people are very scared seeing these orders become law without passing through Congress in the first place, and then seeing Biden try to rapidly expand the size of the ATF. It's a big concern to a lot of gun owners. What are your thoughts on that?
I have the same concerns. I'm glad that we were able to get SAPA passed in Missouri. I couldn't have done it without the help from Missouri Firearms Coalition, all the grassroots activists, as well as Representative Jared Taylor in the House. But that is not the fix for everything, right? Sadly, we can't undo federal law. We can at least ensure that local law enforcement is focused on other things, real crimes, real violent events, as opposed to these fake things that Joe Biden wants us to be spending our time with. But sadly, that's the furthest extent that we could go from the state level. Now that I'm at the federal level, I'm trying to attack this stuff head on. I'll try to do what I can to go after their funding, to pass bills that eliminate their authority to pass these new regulations. So I'm happy to be a part of the new fight.
Well, I think one of the big things you've done that our members are so happy for with the American Firearms Association is you're going right to the head of the snake with your legislation, H.R. 450. A lot of gun guys know that the NFA Act is the controlling mechanism the ATF uses to enforce all of this tyranny. So what happened with the pistol brace issue, for example, as of course you know, is Biden declares these items prohibited. He gives that to the ATF. They then redefine the National Firearms Act as they have done many, many times before. And then voila, now we have this new law, which is not actually a law in the first place, that makes felons out of so many people. And that's why I think it was your first bill filed in Congress was H.R. 450, which would totally repeal the NFA. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's simple. It's a one-page bill. It just says this entire act is deleted. It just removes the entire act. And I can't, as someone who is an enthusiast, someone who purchases firearms, you realize there's a lot of dumb rules in place that the NFA has, right? That are not about keeping people safe. It's just about classifying firearms and really making people have to spend a lot of money to get a special tax stamp in order to own a firearm that they want to use to defend themselves and their family. So it's time that we eliminate their backdoor for passing new legislation.
This is your bill right here. Like you said, it's a very short bill, which is our favorite kind in Congress. Everyone hates a 500 or a 1,500 page long bill. Very short, very sweet. I see you're getting a lot of support for this bill. Some of the best names in Congress in the two-way space are added to your bill. I checked and I saw Congressman Gates, Biggs, Miller, Gosar, Collins, and others are already co-sponsoring this bill. It's getting a lot of support. I think people realize it's time to deal with this head on and not just always play defense, and to take this fight to them, which your bill does. It sends a message that you guys are there, that the GOP took that chamber, and you guys are you're there to get this fight accomplished and finish the day.
Yeah, I think that from someone who was watching on the sidelines for years, I was always frustrated that when Republicans took over, they didn't move the ball in the other direction. Instead, it's like we're just playing Democrat light, right? And so I'm happy to try to establish new conversations. Let's start having new discussions about and give a new direction for where we want to see things go, as opposed to just play defense.
Absolutely. I see you're also on a very big, very popular bill right now with gun owners across the country, Congressman Gates's H.R. 374, which would abolish the ATF. This is also one of those one sentence or one page long bills, but in many ways, these bills are very similar. You're trying to get rid of the NFA. He's trying to get rid of the ATF. That's a fantastic bill as well. We're very happy to see you on that. I think that's always the big issue. You hit on it a moment ago. When the GOP is in control, AFA members want the GOP to take the fight to the gun grabbers. We've had our teeth kicked in for the last 2 years by Nancy Pelosi and Democrats in both chambers. And now that you guys have that majority, we want to see action. And certainly you are delivering that with both your bill as well as co-sponsoring H.R. 374.
Yeah, exactly. We want to take the fight in a different direction and stop playing defense. And I think that it's time that we recognize what's happening. This is the enforcement arm that is really, their job is to take away rights of individuals for their Second Amendment rights.
Well, Congressman, again, on behalf of the American Firearms Association, our members across the country, thank you very much for leading that fight. I'm not going to say we're surprised. You led that fight for so many years in Missouri. You're leading that fight now. Keep it up, and Godspeed. We'll help you any way we can.
Thank you.